All right, y'all. So welcome back to part 2 of our Love is Blind Brazil season 2 recap and review. If you missed part 1, go back and check out part 1 because we talked about how these couples formed. And so now we're going to get into part 2, which is the honeymoons, life living together, final decisions, and maybe the reunion if I can fit all of this into this video. There actually wasn't a lot that happened in the honeymoons, and when they were living together, a lot of it was spent on just like the families. So I will probably be able to fit all of this in just the 2 parts. The honeymoons. It wasn't a whole lot going on here, like at all. I'm gonna start with Vanessa and Tiago first because they just did not have nothing going on during the honeymoons. They were pretty boring. Still don't get their connection. I thought maybe I would see more of it now that they were in person, but it seemed even more obvious to me that they didn't have nothing in common other than the fact that they were physically attracted to each other. But that was about it. Like, I didn't see anything, like they didn't have shared common interests that they talked about. They seemed to be pretty opposite. Their scenes together was pretty boring. Like, they had nothing going on. The only thing that really came out in the honeymoons was that Tiago does not have a steady job. And Vanessa, like I said, is a mother, I think, of 2. And so she does have a good job. You know, she's taking care of herself now, but she feels like, I'm already taking care of 2 kids plus myself. I ain't got time to be taking care of no man at the same time. So that's probably some drama that's going to come up when they start living together. But right now on the honeymoon, like, they're okay. They're not doing anything spectacular. They don't have a whole lot of drama, a whole lot of conflict, nothing. They're just boring. Okay. So yeah. Moving on to Veronica and Will, another very boring couple during the honeymoons. The honeymoons in general are just boring. They, again, are just very much connected. They are into each other. Of all the couples, they probably the one that I'm rooting for the most. I feel like they are the one that for sure will get married. Their connection it just seems very natural, doesn't seem forced. It seems like they've known each other for years. The only point of conflict that they had that came up was that Robert doesn't like boats, and they went on like a boating excursion, and he was nervous. That's it. So there's nothing to talk about with them in this honeymoon either. I just feel like they were genuinely a good match, and I'm rooting for them. Thamara and Allison. Again, they seem like they're very opposite, but they have a lot of physical chemistry, but she seems like she gets pretty annoyed by him. I don't know, maybe that's just her personality, but sometimes when he jokes about things, she looks at him like he's stupid. It doesn't feel like she's completely all in, and I don't know if like what's going on, but it almost is like one of those things where it feels like Allison is more into her than she is into him, and maybe that'll even out a little bit more when they move in together. But at least during the honeymoon, like, they didn't have a whole lot of drama or beef or anything that was of concern. So yeah, I think that they'll be okay. I just hope that Thamara does lighten up a little bit because she does seem a little stuffy. And Allison seems to be a lot more extroverted, and sometimes that doesn't work out well if one partner is super introverted and the other one is super extroverted, because sometimes that can cause some tension and chaos in the relationship. But we shall see. But so far, I feel like I'm kind of rooting for them as a couple. Flavia and Robert, again, very boring couple. This is another one I don't really see their connection at all. I thought it was really cringe to watch them in bed together, and him trying to get physical with her, and he was like kissing on her back. Ugh, get off of me. I'm not here for that. And she was just like, she had already told him that she didn't really want to get physical on their first night. She just wanted to feel it out first and get a little bit more comfortable since she had just met him, which makes sense. And not that he was trying to push it or force the issue, but he did try to initiate a little something, and she respectfully was like, I'm good. And so he did, you know, did seem to be a little bit frustrated, but he didn't push the issue, and he just kind of went to sleep. And then the following night, it seems like they did do something physically. I did like that Robert respected her boundaries. And waited for her to feel comfortable before trying to push the issue again. But that was really like the only dramatic thing that really happened for them on this honeymoon. I still don't see what they have in common or how they are really like connected, but it does seem like they kind of like each other. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how things play out once they get into the shared apartment and into the real world, and let's see if more conflict or more of a connection is shown. But right now, again, I'm kind of on the fence with them. I don't know if they'll get married or not, just because their relationships just seem so boring. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maraeta and Guillerme. Now, these two, honey, so they got into a little tiff because, like I said in part 1, opposites don't always freaking attract. They just don't. And it showed up when they went on their hiking excursion. Guillerme was all in. He wanted to learn about the indigenous culture that had inhabited that part of the rainforest and their traditions and things that they did. He was hugging the trees. And Maraeta was just not here for it. She was not here for it at all. She wanted to go. And so Guillerme kind of picked up on how much Maraeta was not into it. And he felt like that was an issue for him, you know, because he likes to hike and she didn't like to hike. And that might be an issue. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's going to be the issue, that's dumb. Go with your friends, you know, go with family, you know, go with people who do have that shared interest. It's okay if your partner doesn't. Like, it's not the end of the world. So Maraeta just was kind of like, I feel like Guillerme is kind of closed off now that we're out of the pods. I'm not feeling the connection. I don't know if he's as into this, you know, as he was before we met. And Guillerme is just like, you know, well, this process is just really fast and, you know, I don't want to rush into anything. And she's like, well, we're supposed to be married in 30 days. Like, that's the process, you know. I want you to be able to meet my son before we get married, and you're going to meet my family. And Guillerme is just like, I feel like, are we rushing this? And she's just like, what are you even talking about? And I agree with her. I'm like, what do you mean, are we rushing this? This whole process is rushed. Like, that's the point of the experiment, Guillerme. Like, did you miss the memo? Maraeta is just a little concerned because Guillerme is starting to show some signs that maybe he's not as into her or as into this relationship as he once tried to, you know, say that he was. And he tried to do some romantic things here and there to kind of win her trust back. But I don't know, y'all. I feel like that whole opposites thing is going to come in to bite them in the ass. Because for them to have that type of argument already and they just are at the honeymoon stage is kind of a warning sign for me. Okay. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get to the nitty gritty of all the things. And that is living together in the shared apartment and leading up into the wedding day. Veronica and Will. Seemingly everything is going well until it's time to meet the parents. Now, Veronica's family, her parents are divorced. And so her mom and her stepfather, Will, met them. Wonderful family. They reminded me a lot of my family. They seem like very sweet, very welcoming people. Really welcomed Will with open arms. And then they FaceTimed her father and his wife. Her father and his wife, his new wife, had met on the internet, like on a dating app, and they got married very quickly. And so both her parents are like supportive. Her mom is a little hesitant, you know, because she considers herself to be more of a traditional woman. And Veronica's dad, he's all in, obviously, because of how he met his new wife. And he sees nothing wrong with it. He feels like, you know, if you meet somebody, you connect with them and you love them and you don't want to waste time, you want to get married, I'm all here for it. So Veronica's family is all in. They're super supportive. Will. Now, Will's mama. Now, immediately meeting her. Now, Will's father was also kind of not okay with this process. He was side-eyeing everything, but he was not as vocal as Will's mother. Now, Will, after meeting his mom and the things his mom was saying, I was like, Will is a mama's boy. Hands down. I know a mama's boy when I see one. He is a mama's boy. His mom came in, you know, he's like, this is my queen, referring to Veronica, and the mom kind of gave it like a little side eye. When Veronica got up from the table, child, she was two feet away in the kitchen, honey. I'm pretty sure she heard what they was talking about. But, you know, Will asked his mom if she liked Veronica. She was like, we'll see. You know, I guess she's okay. But, you know, are you sure about this process? It seems like y'all are rushing things. I don't think that you're ready for this. the mom just was not feeling Veronica at all. And I don't know if it was the process or it was Veronica, but either way, she was feeling none of it. Veronica comes back to the table from 2 feet away in the kitchen. And, you know, she tells Will's mom that she's so happy she got to meet her and she hopes that they get to grow and have a good relationship. And Will's mom is like, well, you know, well, you're his queen now. You know, I'm also the queen too. And I was like, anytime that word queen is just thrown around and the mama is continuing to use it and everybody refers to her as that, you know what that means. She is control. She is in control, honey. And so Will is kind of nervous and Veronica is just kind of like, well, I did my best, which she did. She was respectful to that lady, opening, welcoming, all the things. And so after that meet with the mom, with Will's mom, nothing really changed between Veronica and Will. Like, they seemed like they were still doing well. He seemed like he was a little bit nervous, and he did talk about how being married is a big responsibility, and he didn't know if he was quite ready for it, but he had reassured Veronica that he was in this. He wanted to be with her. They were going to get married. He was going to say yes, like he was telling his friends, I'm in this. I really like her. I'm pretty sure if we were to get married today, I would say yes. So fast forward to the wedding day. And so they were the first wedding, and I'm like, they're obviously going to get married. Like, their connection has been on point the entire time. And so, you know, I wrote in my notes, they're definitely going to say yes. They're going to get married. I almost fast forwarded through it. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm watching this. But I was like, no, let me watch it. But I was half-ass paying attention. Officiant asked Will, is Veronica his person? And does he want to marry her or whatever? And he says, I do not. Excuse me? Now, mind y'all, before they went up to the altar, Will and his mother had a conversation. The mom was even less into this. I don't know why you're doing this. This is a mistake. You're not ready for this. You're not ready to be married. And I'm thinking everything's all good because Will tells his mom, you know, this is my decision. If I decide to marry her, you know, you need to accept that. If I don't decide to marry her, that's also on me, but you don't determine what I do. This is my life and I want to be happy. This is what he told his mama, not only minutes before going up to that damn altar. And then he tells Veronica, no, I don't want to marry you. I could not believe it. There were zero signs, no conflict, no nothing. And the only issue was the mama. And so after, you know, Veronica, bless her heart, she didn't cry or nothing. She was just like, boy, get out my face. Until she was annoyed. Will is sitting at a table and his mama comes up and she's just as happy as can be, honey. She's like, you made a great decision. This is what you should have did. I did not like this. I did not like her for you. You were not ready for this. And then Will, big face self, has the nerves to say, you know, my mom, she didn't influence me. And then the mom in the interview was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, how much did I influence him? A 10.
How much do I think I've influenced him from 1 to 10? 10. The mother knows best. A good mother understands her child.
She was proud of it, that she influenced that man. And he's talking about how, you know, I made a decision. I was thinking about it. I had my own doubts. You know, and my parents, you know, I live with them and they pay my bills.
Yes, I live with them. They pay my bills, but I make my own way.
Excuse me? I said, run that back?
Yes, I live with them. They pay my bills, but I make my own way.
In them pods, you sat up here and said that you was responsible. You was taking care of yourself. You was paying your own way. And now you talking about you live with your mama and your daddy and they pay your bills? Oh boy, get out my face. Veronica, Matrix style, girl, you dodged the bullet, okay? Because that was some bull. So Veronica and Will did not get married. It shocked me, but then after everything came out, I'm not surprised. So let's move on to Maraeta and Guillerme. Okay, I should have did them first, child. We already know during the honeymoon they had a little tension, but things seemed to be okay. They had an understanding, right? So they move in together and things are still not quite, they don't seem to be on the same page. And so all the couples go to, I think they were like at a winery or something. It was very beautiful, but they were like at like a picnic. And so the women, as they love to do, were over in one group talking. The men were like 2 inches away having another conversation. And so Maraeta and Vanessa could overhear Guillerme, Tiago, and Allison were all talking. And so one of them asked, if you had to say yes today, would you marry, you know, your fiance? And Guillerme, without hesitation, no. He was like, it's only been 4 days. No, I'm not ready. And so me listening, I'm like, 4 days? Y'all was in the pods for like a week. Y'all was on the honeymoon for, I think, maybe like a week. And now y'all been together for 4 days. Sir, that's almost 3 weeks. What are we talking about right now? Aida overheard it, and she was just like, what the hell is going on? And she was just like, what does he mean? We've only been together 4 days. Like, it's been longer than that. And so Guillerme clears it up. He means like we've only been living together for 4 days, but yet he's still talking about the situation is rushed. Sir, that is the experiment. What are you talking about? So they go out to her father's mansion and a castle almost. This looks like a castle. And so Guillerme and her dad are talking. The dad is just like, this can't be real. Like, I don't know what y'all are doing. This is stupid. This isn't real. Like, there's no way that y'all are getting married. Maraeta's father is having none of it. He's not for any of this. And so Guillerme, in a way to make him feel better, says, well, this show isn't all about marriage. What? Excuse me? He talks about how the show is not all about marriage and it's about connecting with someone and seeing where it goes. No, the show is about getting married. That's the end goal. What are you talking about? And Maraeta is like, I am just confused. She was like, the whole point of him meeting my father was him to ask for my hand in marriage. None of that happened. You didn't ask my father if you could marry me. And not only did you not ask my father if you could marry me, but then you said this show is not even about marriage. So what are we doing here? What exactly are we doing? So she brings up her concerns to Guillerme again, and he's making it seem like she's overreacting, and he's like, you're taking my words out of context, and I do want to be in this. I'm just trying to get used to everything. It's just so much happening, and that's not what I meant. I know the point is to get married, but I just wanted him to understand that we are serious about this. Boy, shut up. Just saying any damn thing. And so Guillerme and Maraeta ended up just having a blowout argument conversation. And he basically tells, and apparently they've been having conversations off camera. And so he told Maraeta that he is not attracted to her. He does not want her. He does not want to be with her. And she's just like, I'm tired of trying. Like, you say this to me. I don't know what you want me to do, but I'm done with this. This is it for me. I'm not about to keep doing this to myself. And so he tries to convince her to keep on with the show, and so they can get to the altar and say no to each other. And she's like, why would I do that? What is the point of that? And he's like, I just felt like we both were just going to see this to the end. And she's like, for what? For what? What is there to see? You said you don't want me. You don't want to be with me. You're not in this for marriage. And we're just wasting each other's time. And so she's done. She's like, I'm packing my shit up and I'm leaving. So Maraeta and Guillerme, engagement is over. They're done and they are through. So needless to say, there's no update to give about them at the altar because they both are not engaged. So that's that on them. So the next couple, let's talk about Flavia and Robert. Again, very boring. I still didn't see their connection. No, Robert, his family is very conservative. So they're not completely sure about the experiment, but they are supportive of him. His mom really liked Flavia. She liked Flavia's mom, met Robert's mom. They got along really well. And so everything seems to be going, pretty good with them. The one thing that was throwing me off, though, is that they kept playing Never Have I Ever. And Flavia was like really disclosing a lot of things through alcohol and through the game. And I was just like, girl, why are you choosing these moments to open up to Robert instead of just having conversations with him? And I was a little concerned the fact that it took alcohol and games for her to be open about things in her past. Like, he didn't know that she was bisexual. And that was difficult for him to hear because his last girlfriend cheated on him with his best friend who was a girl. So he was just like, I don't know how I feel about her being bisexual. Again, this is something that was never brought up again, but apparently this was a concern for Robert. But, other than Flavia having like these bomb drops when she was drunk, and disclosing all these different things that she could have talked to Robert about and just in a conversation. They didn't have a whole lot of conflict. They had this beautiful activity where they made rings for each other. It was so romantic. I loved it so much. They had a beautiful dinner after it. It was the cutest thing ever. And as they were eating dinner, Robert was like, so what would you do, if the day of the weddings we both say no and this is it for us? And I'm like, damn, okay, why would that even come up? And she just jokingly talked about how she would get back on the dating apps and it just is what it is. And they both kind of laughed about it. And then they cheers and she was like, I can't believe this is almost over. And she started crying and he was like, well, it's not over. This is just the beginning. And I was like, well, why would you think it's almost over? Like, the whole point is for y'all to be married. And if that is what y'all are going to decide to do, then nothing is over. Like, y'all are going to be together after this. So I don't know if that was her way of saying, like, maybe she's leaning towards saying no, or she was nervous because she didn't know what he was going to say. I don't know. But at this point, I'm on the fence with them. Like, I don't know if they're going to get married. I hope they do, but Flavia and Robert do get married, and I was so happy for them. I still, up to this point, didn't get their connection. I still didn't get it. I didn't see what they had in common. Robert talked about how Flavia brings out so much great things in him, and she makes him feel comfortable enough to open up, which is something that women, he said, in the past have never done. He really loves that about her. And so we'll get to the reunion and we'll see if they're still together. But Flavia and Robert do get married. So Vanessa and Tiago, again, during the honeymoon, I didn't get their connection. Them living in a shared space, I felt their connection even less. Vanessa was really concerned about what life would look like after the show because she lives in, I think, Rio de Janeiro or somewhere, and he lives somewhere else. And his place is really small. She's like, I have 2 children plus me. We can't all fit here. How is this going to work? And Tiago was like, well, it's not that far for you. But I'm still like, sir, are you not hearing? You live in a small ass apartment and she has children. What are you talking about? And so, again, Tiago does not have steady income coming in. I think at the time that they were living together on the show, he wasn't even working. So she's just like, we need to come up with a plan. And so Tiago says, I think she's being a little weird about all the questioning about the division of the bills, which is not really a concern for me right now. Sir, that's a big issue to talk about. You're talking about getting married to this woman who is already paying the bills and footing the bill for her and her 2 children. And you're just going to be an added mouth to feed. So yes, y'all need to have conversations about what it will look like to live together, because she needs to figure out what the hell she's going to do. What do you mean? So already I'm like, he is not serious. Like, what is he even talking about? So Vanessa's just like, the more I'm around him, the more I'm like, where is the man that I met in the pods? Because this is not the same person. This is not the same man with the same energy. Like, Vanessa does videos for social media. She takes pictures and he's just sitting there looking at food, recording her, and she's doing her little dance. And he says to her, I feel like you just always want attention. You want to be the center of attention all the time. And she's like, I don't know what you mean. And she was like, well, if that's the problem, why would you want to be with somebody that does something that you don't like? She was like, isn't that weird to you? And he was like, well, no. And then he was like, well, yeah. And she was like, what? So Tiago was on this whole thing about how he's an introvert and how she's an extrovert and how she's just too much and how he doesn't find that to be attractive. And she's just like, I don't even understand what is happening. And it really kind of plays up what she talked about when we first met her in the pods, how men look at her and they think that she's arrogant and she's full of herself and all this other stuff, when that's not really who she is. Like, she does social media stuff. That might be a way that she makes money. I feel like that was a cop-out. Vanessa feels like Tiago was just trying to be on the show. He just wanted to make it to the end. I agree with her. I felt like he was full of shit in the pods when he tried to play her and Antonia against each other. She shouldn't have picked his ass then. Antonia dodged a bullet. Vanessa should have dodged it with her, because I'm sure there were some other men that she probably was connecting with in the pods that she could have picked over his ass. But you live and you learn, okay? So first of all, Vanessa and Tiago's wedding was stunning. Stunning. It was my favorite one. It was so beautiful. Anyway, so coming up to the wedding, I was like, these two are not getting married. Like, there's just no way. Like, Why would they get married? They have nothing in common. He's not stable. She's sick of his shit. Ain't no way. So he's up there standing. Look, he's going to a cocktail hour. I'm like, sir, did you know you was getting married today? Because you look a mess. She looks beautiful. I hated her hair, but she looked beautiful other than that. Tiago goes first, and he starts talking about some damn treasure, and you're digging for a treasure, and you can't get to the treasure, but then when you dig some more, you get to Treasure Island, but then you get the Island of Misfits, and then you're sad because you thought, boy, what?
In that hole. Instead of looking in another hole, we think, well, I'm sure the treasure isn't there.
What is you talking about? Just say no and go on about yourself. And so he says no, he doesn't want to get married. And so he forced some little tears out while he talking about his little analogy about treasures and shit. And Vanessa rolls her eyes. And I felt that because I was rolling mine too. Boy, please. And so Vanessa is like, you're a scammer, you're fake, like you're not the person I thought you were. Obviously, this is not gonna work. I don't wanna marry you either. Period. And that's it. And she went on with her cute little fluffy dress and her bouffant hair, which I hated. Tiago wasted everybody's time. I don't even know why he was on this damn show. I don't even remember. Did we even meet his family? I don't even remember if we did or not. But he gave nothing. He offered nothing. And I'm sure there was somebody who was better fit to be on the show than his raggedy ass. So on to our last couple, Thamara and Allison. Baby. So Thamara get back to the daily hustle and bustle. And Allison is looking on her social media and he sees a particular person that keeps not only liking her pictures, but leaving very interesting messages. And so Thamara finally lets him know that, well, before I came on the show, I was engaged with somebody that I had been with for 8 years. And then I broke the engagement and then I left and went on the show and I ghosted him and I haven't talked to him since. Girl, what? You gotta be shitting me. Allison, I thought he was gonna have a fit because remember in the pods, he was talking about how he was jealous and stuff. But he handled it so well. He was just like, wow, okay. He's like, so maybe you need to talk to him and maybe you need to let him know you're engaged now. And so Allison, encouraged her to call her ex, have a conversation with him and just put everything out on the table. She didn't want to, but Allison did. Allison encouraged it, which I love because that showed so much security on his part. Tamara's family, so sweet. I loved her family. But, they're still in contact with the ex, because she was with him for 8 years and almost engaged. And her family didn't even really know she was on the show. So the family is still in contact with dude. And so she finally, talks to the family. Her dad was kind of pissed off because he was another parent that was like, I'm really traditional. I don't agree with this process. I think you need to date, be engaged for a little while, then get married. But I love my daughter. I think Allison is handsome. I really like him, so I'm happy for her. And so if she needs us to cut ties with their ex-fiance, then that's what we'll do. And so her family was super supportive. Tamara meets Allison's family, very welcoming of her as well. And Allison and Thamara just seemed to blend together really well. I thought it was hilarious when they would have their little gossip moments after the group outings. That is so funny. If you can't gossip with your partner, should y'all really be together? And the more we got to see of them together, the more compatible that I saw that they were. And so I was just rooting for them. And I was like, I hope they get married. There was literally no reason why these two should not be married. Wedding day comes and baby Thamara gives her speech. And she talks about how this whole experiment would be crazy. And after all their ups and downs, she would be crazy to marry him. And he would be crazy to think that they should get married and that this is the right thing to do. And I'm like, girl, what? And then Tamara's like, but I'm a crazy person and this is right up my alley. And absolutely, I'm gonna marry you. And I was like, girl, don't be doing that to us because we are rooting for y'all. We love y'all as a couple. And of course, Allison says yes and they get married. Everybody is happy and it just made sense because after seeing their connection beyond the pods, I'm like, this is a beautiful and a wonderful and amazing couple and I'm here for it. Let's go ahead and get into the reunion. This reunion, again, levels better than the reunions that we get for Love is Blind USA. First of all, the host actually ask good questions and questions that people want to know the answer to. The hosts are not making it about themselves and their marriage and talking about shit that nobody cares about. Vanessa and Nick Lachey. Anyway, you can tell it's a lot of tension in the air. And something in particular is going on with Flavia and Robert, because Robert does not look happy. And I'm like, oh shit, something went on. Now, mind you, I don't know if they have already disclosed a lot of this stuff on social media in Brazil, because again, I am not in Brazil. I'm not on Brazil's social media. I don't know nothing about these folks. The way their reunion is set up is totally different than the one for Love is Blind US. So first they get up, they pull the ring box out, and they have the couples who said yes get up. And so they had Thamara and Allison get up and say, are you guys still married? And then they grab their rings, put their rings on each other's fingers, say, yes, we're still married. Then they get Flavia and Robert up and they grab their rings, say, are you guys still married? No, we're not still married. What the fudge? Okay. You're like, okay, well, looks like we got a lot to talk about. And so we get to the nitty gritty. I'm not going to go through all the juice, y'all. I'm going to go to the stuff that just was juicy to me. So we get to Veronica and Will. He talked about how, you know, him and Veronica had conversations and how he told her that he was not certain about them getting married. And she's like, but we said we will say yes. Like, we had made a pact that we would say yes when we went up to the altar. And all of a sudden you had this conversation with your mama and now you're talking about no. Will is talking about, you know, if he had done it again, he may have said something different, but he can't change anything. And Veronica's like, I'm not trying to hear none of that. She said, I am in a relationship with a very fine black man and I'm good. I don't even care. I'm over it. Like, you show me who you were and I'm done with the situation. Later on, Will's mom comes out, Flavia's mom comes out, and Thamara's dad comes out. And I love that they brought these parents out, because Love is Blind, they don't do this, and it's so stupid. Veronica has the opportunity to kind of really confront Will's mom, and it was just like, you were rude and you were mean to me and I was nothing but nice to you. And I don't understand, you know, why you had that energy with me. And his mom was like, I wasn't mean to you. I called you his queen. And she was like, girl, please. And so the mom was like, well, I didn't impact him. He made his decision the way he wanted to. And it looks like obviously he made a good decision, because he said he wasn't ready for this. I know that marriage is a huge responsibility, and that's all I was trying to say. Thamara's dad was like, you know, I don't like how these parents are all involved in these relationships, and how you're, you know, telling your kids what to do. Like, that's not our job as parents to just dictate our children what they're supposed to be doing. Like, our job is to give them advice, to guide them, and then whatever decision they make, we got to support them. He was like, but, you know, we just can't tell them what to do and try to manipulate them into doing what we want them to do. And so I appreciated that, because he made a lot of sense. And he was like, you know, I didn't agree with this process either. He's like, but I took the time. I was open to it. I met Allison. I love him. I love him for my daughter. And I'm going to support her. And that's what parents are supposed to do. And he was like, and y'all coming on this show talking about she don't like going on hikes and I like going on hikes, so we shouldn't be together. He said, it's stupid. I was like, shots fired at Guillerme. Loved it. And so then, speaking of Guillerme and Maraeta had it out, honey. And come to find out that while they were taping this show, Guillerme was texting his now girlfriend. Girl, please. He's talking about, well, that didn't happen till after I told you I wasn't into you anymore. She's like, no, it did not. We were still talking about making it work, talking about getting married, and you were on social media contacting this girl. And he was like, well, I don't want to bring outside people. And she was like, what had happened during the show, so it needs to be talked about. He's like, well, she's talking about my current girlfriend. And Maraeta said, I didn't say who I was talking about. I purposely didn't say anything. I didn't say her name because it's not about her and she's not at fault. I'm talking about what you did while we were supposed to be in a relationship on the show. And so he shuts down, and she's like, well, whatever, I'm over it. I just want to let you know, that you were lying and you were not into this and you weren't into me the whole time, and you just should have been honest about it. And she's not wrong about that. But baby, Flavia and Robert. So Flavia found out that Robert had, number one, pretended like he deleted dating apps off of his phone while they were still engaged. He did it in front of her, but really all he did was remove it from his home screen. He still had the dating apps on. He was messaging girls on the dating apps. And I don't remember if they confirmed that he had met up with a girl on a dating app or what, but he was definitely flirting. It was a girl that I guess he had been talking to before, and she asked him how he was. And now, mind you, this is after they were married. Asking him how he was. And he was like, better now that I'm talking to you, just all this other shit. So he's boohoo crying. It's like, I'm so sorry. And I never meant to hurt you. And Flavia was the best thing that ever happened to me. Best relationship. I don't want nobody else but her. And she's just like, I don't know what you want me to do with this information. I don't know what you want me to do with this information. And so, you know, like I said, her mom ended up showing up on the reunion. He apologized to her mom, and her mom was like, I've already forgiven you. You don't have to apologize to me. And he was like, I do, because I promised you that I would take care of her, and I did not take care of her. And he was like, I would do anything I can to make it up to you guys. And so at the end, they are like back in the room, and there's like a partition of like in the pods. And so there's like a little button. And so if you want to have one more time to sit and look at the person that you were in a relationship with and have any parting words to say to them, then you can hit the button, the screen will retract, and then y'all can say whatever y'all need to say. And so they're sitting in the room, and he hits the button, or somebody hits the button. And so it retracts, and he's still crying. He apologizes, like, I'm gonna do whatever I can. I don't care if it takes a year, 10 years, 100 years. I'm gonna try to win you back. And Flavia's just like, you know, I just wish you luck, and, you know, and we can hug. And they hugged it out, and she was just like, I wish you luck, and I hope you just learn from this experience. So it sounds like she's done with him. She won't have nothing to do with him. I kind of felt a little bad for him because he was crying so hard, but child, just don't cheat, and you won't have to say sorry. Don't do shit to apologize for, and you won't have to apologize. Like I said in the beginning, Love is Blind Brazil, it's just such a better show, from the diversity, the ages of the cast, the way the reunion was set up. Like, it just made sense. I feel like a lot of things were resolved. Drama was brought up in a respectful way. I like the fact that they got to be in a room together, just them, with the wall up again, and say whatever they needed to say, good, bad, or ugly, to each other. And it was just a much better produced show. So if you have not watched Love is Blind Brazil, at least season 2, I didn't watch season 1, I highly recommend you go ahead and check it out, especially if you are a woman of color and you want to see yourself represented. Even though they're speaking Portuguese, it don't matter. If you want to see that type of representation on your screen when it comes to love and relationships, I highly, highly recommend it. So as always, y'all, like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to see y'all next time for something else. Thank y'all so much for your support, and I'm going to see y'all next.
Hey, sister girl on films, you don't want to miss a thing. Better stay tuned in. So lay back, get into the vibe, in the mood. Real reviews from a sister's